What's up, everybody? I am...
Sorry.
You're fine. What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or GameOverJesse, as some of y'all may know me, and here with me to join on the Curiosity Shop, our Zelda Mailbag, is Daniel. Daniel, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, everybody. I'm Daniel. I run this DAG show with Jesse, so...
Yes.
Yeah.
You just finished yesterday editing the video that we just published this morning of the Zelda games to come in the near future. So the Curiosity
Shop. It's a fun video.
Yes.
It's fun to work on.
Thank you. If you don't know what the Curiosity Shop is, you can comment below, send in your Zelda questions, and if we have enough time at the end of the show, we will go through and answer as many as we can. If you want to make sure your question gets on the show, like Casey, George, and Michelle has, you can go to our Patreon at patreon.com/GameOverJesse, where you can sign up for a lot of exclusive stuff. You can join on the podcast, you could be a guest, have your voiceover in certain videos like theory videos or news videos that we do, and your question will take priority. So going to our first question here from Casey. Says, what expectations do you have and what additions would you like to see in the next Zelda iteration? Thanks for all the content. Now, we've already answered this a few times, but since they did go to Patreon, we will do another quick answer. So, what I want to see, traditional themed dungeons. I want to swim underwater. I want to a larger variety of enemies, weapons, and stuff. Like we had Lizalfos and a bunch of other great enemies in this game, but like there was no Dark Nuts, there was like there wasn't a lot of those classic stuff. There was like, it seemed like 5 or 6 different enemies, and then each of those enemies had like, oh, here's a fire type, here's a water type. It was like the Pokemon version of Zelda.
Lizalfomon.
Yeah, it was like it's like they took the normal Lizalfos and then like
then there's the ice one and there's the lava one.
It's like Eevee, to where like there's the fire evolution, there's the lightning evolution. Yeah. So just more variety, traditional dungeons, swim underwater, and if they want to make me happy, of course, all that would already make me happy, but I would love to see loft wings. I want loft wings. I really do. And I thought Skyloft is a great idea. City in the Sky, Twilight Princess is a great idea. Not only was that a dungeon, but it was the remains of Skyloft, which wouldn't be introduced until the next game. Rumor says Ocarina of Time and the Ura expansion was supposed to have its own sky temple. Yeah.
That's the thing, is a lot of the times when they don't like if they have an idea, they want to put an idea in a dungeon in a Zelda game and they can't put it in, they'll put it in a future game. Yeah. I think they've gone on record saying that quite a few times.
Yeah. So we have all of these different things that was missing from Breath of the Wild that they could have implemented in DLC with new weapons, new items, and stuff. Instead, we got a motorcycle.
Yeah, still cool.
Still cool, still fun. But there was a lot of missed opportunities, and I'm starting to think maybe they just saved all of that stuff, and instead of giving a piece of it in DLC, they're just holding it for the next Zelda game. So yeah, that's my answer. What about you, Daniel? What additions would you like to see in the next Zelda?
Well, I think that, like you've said, we're probably going to get a handheld Zelda first. Sort of maybe a 3DS game. If they still want to do 3DS stuff, that's fine by me. 3DS has been around for a long time, but like they seem to be set on,
really
on
cool
keeping it going.
If they did it like Fire Emblem Warriors, to where it was 3DS and Switch. Yeah.
Yeah. But Zelda specifically, I'd really like to see a traditional, like, but not too traditional, but like A Link Between Worlds for me really hit the nail on the head. Like, it was really great. Now, this might be nostalgia talking because A Link to the Past was the first Zelda game I ever played.
Yeah.
Like, my earliest childhood memories are of two games: A Link to the Past and Super Mario World. Those are like as far back as I can remember. Those two games. So those two. So seeing A Link Between Worlds, it's sort of like this, like Hyrule from my childhood, sort of reimagined like this and brought into the modern handheld game like that. It was awesome. But like, I felt like A Link Between Worlds was very creative with their dungeon design, and I liked I didn't miss having the weapons found in dungeons and the items, like having the items and just buying them, and that was fine by me. I don't need to find them in dungeons.
Yeah.
And I really liked how creative they used all those items. Especially like the hook shot you think of as like you pull yourself to an item or to an object or something, right?
Yeah.
But then they have that, and they use the wall merging mechanic in conjunction with the hook shot, and then suddenly it's a whole new mechanic almost, right? And so I really loved how creative that game was. It was a very great blend of old and new. So I think a traditional Zelda in the same vein as A Link Between Worlds on 3DS, and then, you know, in the meantime they have their team also working on something in the same vein as Breath of the Wild, because as much as I loved traditional games, I really loved Breath of the Wild as well, and all of its departures. But yeah, I do think that those really intense dungeons is the only thing missing for Breath of the Wild for me.
Yeah.
Because I just really like how interesting the dungeons can get, and like these really long form dungeons that it's like the missing piece for me, you know? Like, I loved everything else about Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
People rag on the weapons breaking. I'm cool with that. People rag on about the runes or
they said
things,
from the like before we even knew the title of it, they said they were going to change the formula. So
yeah,
breaking weapons
so they did,
is an easy way.
Yeah. So like all that stuff I was cool with, but like I did always, up until the release, like I was expecting some long form dungeons, just because that is sort of what Zelda was all about for me. Maybe not to the same extent as Skyward Sword, where it felt like even the overworld was a dungeon, you know, but yeah, like I think that they could have had a nice balance between huge open world and you can explore and do the dungeons in any order, and having these really intense puzzles and fun dungeons. But maybe I'm dreaming too big. I don't know. But that's what I would love to see. I felt like that was the only thing Breath of the Wild was missing, was just some really nice long dungeons. And if they couldn't do that, more of the Divine Beasts then. But if they had like just 4, like in Majora's Mask, like just 4 really intense dungeons that were these Divine Beasts, like, sweet.
Well,
perfect game.
Maybe a bit off topic, but with Majora's Mask, some people, when they think of Majora's Mask, they do think 4 dungeons, but Iconic Castle was sort of its own dungeon.
That's true.
So
yeah, and same with like the Gerudo hideout. Yeah, so I guess really, like Majora's Mask though, the thing is that game sort of I feel like Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess, those two games are their opposites.
Too. I didn't even think about that. In Breath of the Wild, they said they wanted to make it feel like they also said this for Skyward Sword, that there wasn't really any challenge in the overworld, so they wanted to kind of make it dungeon-esque to, like, just to get to the area that you need to. And even in Ocarina of Time, like sneaking around the Gerudo, the thieves' hideout or whatever.
Right.
Like sneaking around Gerudo Fortress, because you would go in and out of the different rooms saving the prisoners, and then you'd have to like sneak around the guards. A Link to the Past, when you first make it to the Dark World and you get to the area where I think you have to follow the monkey or whatever. To get to that
There's
dungeon.
Like the hedge maze and
so like even so I guess they've always done that. It's just Majora's Mask takes it to the, or not Majora's Mask, Breath of the Wild takes it to the next level. So that's interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like I've held this theory of Twilight Princess and Majora's Mask are sort of opposites in a way, in that Majora's Mask, really the meat of the game is outside the dungeons in the world and doing side quests.
Yeah.
And Twilight Princess, the real meat of that game is the dungeons themselves. Not to say that there's like no side quests in Twilight Princess, or that the dungeons in Majora's Mask don't matter.
There's dozens of side quests.
Yeah.
The thing is,
but I just feel like the main thing that I look forward to in Twilight Princess is the dungeons and how great those dungeons are. And the main thing I look forward to when playing Majora's Mask is the side quests.
Yeah.
You know?
All right. I think we can move to the next question.
Yes, let's.
Because it kind of...
We're getting off topic
It kind of goes on a similar subject. George, a huge supporter for the YouTube channel, says, "Sweet. I'm sure it's been asked before, but with the news that no more DLC is coming out for Breath of the Wild, do you think the next main Zelda title will be a direct sequel? And do you think they're gonna go for a more cinematic feel for the storytelling? Because they kind of went that route with Breath of the Wild, and I feel like they can go bigger and better for the next one, especially if they give Link a voice and flesh him out more as a character, even if it's not a direct sequel, but an entirely new entry in the timeline." So I remember when Hyrule Warriors came out and everybody loved the focus on the cutscenes in Hyrule Warriors. There was an interview with Al Numa where he said because fan feedback for Hyrule Warriors was so positive that for Zelda Wii U, as it was known at the time, would have more of a... They were going to put more of a focus on the cutscenes, which we've seen with all of the memories and the voice acting in the cutscenes and stuff. So I don't know if the voice acting was because of the fan feedback from Hyrule Warriors, which didn't really have voice acting, but there was the narrator, that woman's voice.
Yeah, there was the narrator basically between levels.
Yeah. So apparently Nintendo's seen such positive fan feedback from that they decided to incorporate more focus of cutscenes into Zelda Wii U. And with the memories and the cutscenes and everything in Breath of the Wild being such a great part of it, it's, you know, a better way to tell the story than to just give us a diary to read. So,
yeah.
Which they did do, but it would have been better seeing the actual cutscenes. So
I think both was good. Like, I kind of liked having... There was a bit of, like, with the, like, Zelda's diary and stuff and the King's diary, like, a bit of having to fill in the blanks yourself. And I think having the two in conjunction, like, having the memories and having the diary and being able to sort of picture yourself, like, I think that worked really well for me. But, like, I also felt like I wanted more memories than just the ones we got. Like, I wanted to see more of the world and more of these characters interacting and stuff, right?
Yeah. And I think this was Nintendo's first Zelda game where they put this big of a focus on cutscenes. They said that in Skyward Sword they wanted to have more cutscenes than they did in any of the previous Zelda games.
Yeah. I think they did. They had a lot of cutscenes in Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
Especially right near the beginning and right near the end, especially.
Yeah. So with Breath of the Wild, it looked like they continued that with the positivity received from the cutscenes of Hyrule Warriors. And then with Breath of the Wild, or the next game after Breath of the Wild, I think Breath of the Wild in a lot of ways was them experimenting to see what works and what doesn't. And if it does work, then they'll expand upon that with the next one. If it doesn't work, like a lot of people complained about too many shrines, no real dungeons. In the same way that they took feedback from Skyward Sword, and a lot of people complained there's no field. Like, it's not connected. It doesn't feel like a real world. It just feels segmented. So they ended up making the world in Breath of the Wild or Zelda Wii U this huge, ever-connecting world. So, if they continue the pattern that they have, I expect even more voice acting from the sequel or whatever is next. And I expect even more from the voice acting or the cutscenes. And where this was Nintendo's first time doing voice acting and all the cutscenes had voice acting, I think they may have limited themselves to be like, we don't want to give too much. So we don't want to have too much voice acting or too many cutscenes because we don't necessarily know how they're going to react. Now that they know it's going to be positive, I can see them. And this was also their first time working with this engine. Now that they've basically perfected it, I don't think it would take nearly as long to make a cutscene now for the next game as it would have for them to make that cutscene for the previous games. Especially since not only do they have to make the cutscene to where it runs well on the Switch, but they also had to make sure that it was running well on the Wii U. Where if they put too much into a cutscene, then the Wii U might chug along and like drop some frames or something, to whereas the Switch might run it perfectly fine. So with them only worrying about the Switch, I totally expect more cutscenes and voice acting and maybe some stuff that we didn't even see in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
All right. So,
but do you think it's going to be a direct sequel?
Oh yeah.
Or a new entry? Because I don't think it'll be a direct sequel personally, because I think Nintendo, they've kind of stopped doing that with Zelda. I think
it will be. I think it'll be like a Link Between Worlds and Triforce Heroes, to where Nintendo didn't even know. Because
and then they decided later, like,
if you remember when a Triforce Heroes first came out, they were like, no, this doesn't take place on the timeline, it's its own thing, blah blah blah. A few weeks later, they're like, no, it's not only a direct sequel to A Link Between Worlds, you play as the exact same Link that you did,
even though he's suddenly changed art style.
And I think they did that.
Different.
I think they did that just to give people an answer so they would stop asking.
Yeah,
because it's like,
fair enough.
If this game takes place like outside the timeline, then it doesn't even count. So why should I be invested in the overall story? Especially when it's like, oh, this princess is cursed to wear bad clothes.
Unitard.
Yeah. So
not quite as high stakes as Ganon being resurrected by Yuga.
Yeah.
But
so with them like changing from that and being like, no, this is Link from A Link Between Worlds. It's the same person you spent 40-50 hours with in A Link Between Worlds. Suddenly they're like, oh, now I have that personal connection with the character that I had from the previous game. To whereas if it's just a new person,
looks different.
Yeah.
They changed the look though, so it's like that's really sticks out to me.
Yeah.
Because it's a different art style.
So I think the next question, kind of long, but read what Michelle says. She had a longer question. If it was a YouTube comment, I probably wouldn't have taken it, or I would have shortened it. But where she is a Patreon member, I thought we kind of owe her support.
Yes.
So go ahead and read what Michelle says.
So Michelle Jones asks, I can't really think of much to ask. I'd love some more exploration into the Zelda movie topic. My thoughts would be to focus on the time travel aspect of Ocarina of Time. My thoughts would be to do an overview of the Child Link segment, a portion of one of those 3 dungeons, meet the princess, discover Temple of Time, discover the Master Sword, go forward and find the corresponding elemental temples, forest, water, or fire, using time travel mechanics as a key element of the movie, with sequels that explore the other 2 elements, providing it does well into the box office. It would be a huge moneymaker for Nintendo if they co-released it with another release of Ocarina of Time. Perhaps just not another remaster, but a complete rebuild from the ground up with the Breath of the Wild engine and re-recording of orchestral score from Ocarina of Time. This is a lot to add to the video, I realize. Such a film series would be an amazing opportunity for an up-and-coming director to take on such a huge project of 3 feature-length films, possibly a good idea for a Netflix exclusive. I look forward to the next video, regardless how much or little of these ideas you include. I enjoy the ideas you have. I'm an idea person who gets all sorts of ideas and theories about video games, especially the Legend of Zelda series. But do you have any idea about how much a project might be executed?
All right.
So, I think I like the Netflix idea better, generally, like, because with a Netflix series, the episodes are usually like 45 minutes to an hour long. So if you have like a 22-minute TV episode, you can't really get into it as much, and you can't do as much development. But also, because you have these hour-long episodes and like 20 of them, you can really do a lot more world building and pacing and depth with characters. And if you only have, say, 2 hours of movie time to do that, sometimes it just doesn't, they can't do as much world building. In a video game, the world building is easier because you have to actually put that player in the world. But in a movie, a lot of times when you have these movie adaptations, they feel shallow because they can't do as much world building, right? So I think like if I had to choose one of these ideas, like I'd go with the Netflix series. That would be really cool. But
there was the rumor as well a couple of years ago. At that same time, the interesting thing is, we covered this on the last video, but the topic was so popular that everybody was commenting. But you weren't on that episode, so it's nice hearing your thoughts on this.
But I did see the video. But
so a lot of people...
I would like an animated thing better than live action, though.
Yeah, like an anime series for Netflix.
Yeah. And I don't think I would like it to follow the story of Ocarina of Time, because they would have to change things or exclude things or something or add to it. And I think they just would need to make this a new Link, new incarnation of, and not make a game about it. Just keep it like it would still be in the timeline, but separate from the games. So I don't want a direct adaptation. I just like almost a new Legend of Zelda entry into the series, but it's a Netflix series. Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Sony did something similar last year with, might have been early this year, Ratchet and Clank.
Yes, they had a movie.
They remade the original game into a movie, but then they remade that movie into a game. There's even a joke with the game that's like, this is the game that was based off of a movie that was based off a game. And if you play the remake, it's not just the same game with higher resolution, and if you play the new game and you watch the movie, it tells the same story, but a lot of the stuff is very different. So I imagine it would be something like that. Like if you want an example of how this could possibly work, play through Ratchet and Clank, or if you played through the original, go and watch the new movie, and you'll see how an adaptation of a video game, because there hasn't really been a movie to where they took the exact same story from a game and made it into the movie. They usually just make up their own story for the movie. But this was like very similar to the original. So I think it would be like the changes that you're talking about would be similar to that. But I do think a new story altogether would be good.
Yeah, now that doesn't mean they can't include some of the elements like time travel, which is heavily featured in many Zelda games. Things like that. Like they could still use the Master Sword, Temple of Time, a lot of similar elements, but without making it a direct adaptation. Because I think Ocarina of Time is just, it's too beloved a game to adapt and have everyone feel like it was done justice.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, I don't mean to be defensive, like, leave my game alone, you know? Like, that's not how I mean to come across. But I just feel like if they were to do it, I want them to do it right. I want them to do a good job. And I don't want them to piss off a lot of people. And even if they did adapt the story of Ocarina of Time and then change things, like, personally, I'd probably be fine with it. But I know a lot of people wouldn't. And a lot of people would hate the changes, right?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't, like, true to the story. But they could do a lot with the Netflix series. I think they could do more with that than they could with 3 films, because 3 films, they'll probably would have a higher budget. That's 6 hours, maybe 9, if they were long movies.
Yeah.
But if you have a Netflix series, then you have like 25 hours to work with.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
On the next question, we didn't include this in, but Ashley Icona, or Champion Ashley on YouTube, good friend of the YouTube channel, very popular in the Discord channel as well, or the Discord server. She asked almost the exact same question as our previous question with, or one of our previous questions. What kind of idea would you like the Zelda team to tackle in the next Zelda game? Similar to our first question from Casey.
Yes, almost the same question, yeah.
And then
I feel like
the next question from Discord asks something similar as well, with what style do you see the Legend of Zelda series continuing in? More of Breath of the Wild, Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess, or a different style? We have answered this in previous videos, but to give a quick answer, I would say the Zelda Wii U tech demo, or the Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I really like Breath of the Wild's art style. Like that just really hit the nail on the head for me. That or Wind Waker HD art style. Short answer.
So our first question from YouTube is from Anna. She asks, will Nintendo ever make a Zelda game and or DLC in which the main supporting characters, i.e. the sages, champions, maidens, etc., are both alive and interactable with after clearing the respective dungeon? I was hoping to see the champions be resurrected in the newly released DLC and be able to be interactable with not only Link, but also the other characters in the game. Every Zelda game so far has had a habit of making these certain characters non-interactable after finishing the respective dungeon. Ocarina of Time, sages are in the Chamber of Sages, and their status of being alive or dead is a can of worms that I really don't want to open. Wind Waker, Medley, and Makar are alive and found in the Earth and Wind Temples, but are not able to be interacted with. Breath of the Wild champions are dead, and they are only seen in either flashbacks or cutscenes. I would go on, but I think you get the idea. Yeah. So, my thought was, with the amiibo, the Champions amiibo, they came out and said they were companion amiibos. The only other...
That's not what they did.
Yeah, the only other companion amiibo that they said was Wolf Link.
Yeah.
So maybe when they first announced the amiibo, they had the idea of doing it, and then they found it was too complicated to have the champions come and be partners with you. So that's my thoughts on that.
That would have been a really cool use of the amiibos, though, to have it the same way as Wolf Link, where you can have them as a companion. And then, I would totally build my team of champions.
No. Just like in the same way that Wolf Link works, the more hearts you have when you finish the dungeon in Twilight Princess is how many hearts Wolf Link has. So if they had it to where as many hearts as you have once you beat that version of Calamity Ganon in the dungeon is how many hearts that character has when you use your amiibo. So if you beat...
That would be really cool.
If you beat Water Blight Ganon with 3 hearts left, then Mipha has 3 hearts. Or if you beat the boss without taking any damage,
or quickly eat before you finish. Eat something and then hit the final blow. That's how you do it.
So, yeah, I think
that would be cool.
Yeah, that would have been cool DLC. As for future games, I think it's certainly possible. Ocarina of Time, you pick up Princess Ruto to carry her around.
But I think she means after you beat the dungeon, right? And I think the only example I can think of where they actually did that would be in Twilight Princess, after you beat the Snow Temple, the mansion, you can snowboard against the Yetis. Otherwise, the fairies in Phantom Hourglass. They're like you beat their dungeons and then they're like your fairy companions. After that, but otherwise, like they don't really do that. I would like to see that. That would be cool, especially if we could do something with the amiibos and have them be like sidekick type characters.
So
but
To answer her question, do you think Nintendo will do this?
I want them to, but I don't think they will.
Yeah.
I want them to, but I don't think they will. Yeah.
There's a possibility, unless they give us just different versions of Link like they have in Four Swords and Triforce Heroes. Aonuma has mentioned that he wants to make a multiplayer Zelda game with like that's what the Zelda Wii U was originally supposed to have, some sort of multiplayer, and then he's mentioned that he wants to...
That was part of the conventions of Zelda he was wanting to break.
Yeah, and then he recently, when Breath of the Wild released, he said he wants... Sorry, there's a comment getting annoying in the chat. It caught my attention. They mentioned your name, but it was blocked.
But it was blocked?
Yeah, they said, "Oh, Bergerson, you don't deal with shitty shit." So I don't know what that means, but apparently you don't take no shit. So
I don't, or he doesn't. I don't know.
You don't.
I just opened the chat back up. I haven't been listening to it for a while. But
it got marked as spam or whatever, so it didn't show up. Anyways, deleting this part out of the question.
Great.
Yeah, with it being a multiplayer game, he's mentioned, I don't know if Nintendo will let him do it, but it seems if Aonuma had his choice, he wants to make a home console multiplayer Zelda game. And if they ever do that, a new idea would be, instead of giving just multiple Links, or in Triforce Heroes it was multiple characters that just happen to look like Link, a cool thing they could do is have you play as the different races. We've seen how they could work with Majora's Mask and then Hyrule Warriors. In Majora's Mask, each of the races that you played as had their own unique abilities. So it's not.
I don't know if it was you I talked to about this, but I remember having an idea a while back of like a Zelda MMO, but you weren't Link. You had to pick your character, and you could choose all the different races, and that would just be cool. But not likely to happen. But that's super cool. Yeah.
All right, moving on to our next question.
Yes,
Hylia Lex says, "What do you think the next Zelda 3DS game will look like? Please answer my question." I think it will look like Paper Zelda or an HD version of A Link Between Worlds.
They did, maybe jokingly, but they did in that Game Informer interview sort of hint at it, or he suggested, and they said, "Oh, we're working on it," but that might have been a joke answer.
I think he pointed at a shirt as well.
Yeah, he had Link on his shirt.
Yeah, so I think it will be something like, if the joke was serious, then what will it look like? It will look exactly like a Paper Mario Zelda game. But realistically, I think it would just, if you look up an emulated version of A Link Between Worlds, like what it looks like running on an emulator in HD, I think that is most likely exactly what the next Zelda game is going to look like. It might have a slightly different look to Link or the world itself, but just A Link Between Worlds HD is what I imagine it's going to look like.
And I think they have a really good look going. Like, I think they have a really good style with A Link Between Worlds, where it's very classic Zelda, like very classic. And I really like that look for 3DS Zelda titles. I think that works really well for that platform. That's if they make a 3DS one, because they might just be moving everything to Switch from now on, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what I was meaning with it being HD. So take our next question from Grace.
Great. She says, "Haha, is it just..." Oh, this is why you gave me this question. "Is it just me, or does Daniel," that's me, aka the guy on the left, that's me, "look a ton like Pippet from Skyward Sword?" Grace, sure, why not? I'll take it. Pippet's a dignified knight. He's a character. He has a good heart, and he's not as skilled as Link, but he just wants to do the right thing and help his mom. So Sure, Pipit's cool. I'll take
Alright.
it. What do you think I look like, Pipit, Jesse?
I haven't seen a resemblance. The only friend that I have, the only two people that I know that look like other people is my older brother looks like Ben Affleck.
Oh, really?
My friend looks like, what's his name? Grant.
Don't say Guy Fieri.
No,
Oh, okay.
Grant Augustin from The Flash. My friend Simon, who used to be a co-host on the YouTube channel, used to look like, well, he didn't used to look like, he still looks like,
he still does.
He could be a body double for The Flash on the TV series, not the movie.
Yeah. You know, I hear a lot of people say that I have a slight resemblance to Andy Samberg. That's what people say. It might be the gap teeth, or just might be the general handsomeness.
Alright.
But I mean, I'm no Kid Ellis with my hair, but
Alright.
that guy has some good hair, Jesse.
Minibin 232 or Minibin 20,032 says, give us Daniel and Lexi. So apparently some fan support for a duo, Daniel and Lexi.
Maybe we should have Lexi on the next one.
Yeah.
Just bring her back for one more.
And then you can take our
without you.
Yeah.
No.
Well, you did one without me with
we've both done one without the other one.
Yeah, with Rick.
Now we're even. So
but you can take
the last question.
You can take our final question here, which will probably be the title of the video. The videos on this channel are funded by supporters on Patreon like you. If you're a fan of this channel and would like to join on videos, receive shoutouts, watch videos early, have your questions answered, or have your topic discussed on our podcast, please consider supporting on Patreon for these and many other rewards for just $1. Shoutouts for this video includes Link Use the Triforce, Rusty Caulfield, Lovable Christie, Give Time 15, Shadow to Us, Robbie Morgan, and Lunarium. I want to thank all of you for everything you have done to help support this channel.